Okay, it's a few minutes after 5:30, so we'll get started here. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight for the Nostalgia Virtual Information Session. We appreciate your time and interest in the project. My name is Bridget Node with BNA, and I am providing communications and engagement support for this project. If you're attending, that means we've had contact before, so please feel free to keep emailing me in the future if you've got any questions or comments. This session is being recorded, just so you know, for a future resource for the public to access. So once we wrap this up, we'll share the recording for those who would like to share it with neighbors and friends who would also like to learn more about the project. In addition, there are two ways to get involved tonight. So we've got a Q&A function as part of this program. So depending on the device you're using, that will either be located on the bottom of your screen or on the side. And you can use that function to enter questions as they come up. You can enter them throughout the project presentation and we'll address them as they come up. You're also welcome to raise your virtual hand with the hand function, and I'll unmute you and you're welcome to engage with us directly and ask questions that way as well. And following the session, lastly, we've got an online survey. I'll share the link through the chat function on this webinar, and I'll also share that by email following our event tonight. And we invite you and encourage you to provide further feedback through that online survey. And that will be open for 2 weeks until April 9th. So with that, before we get started, I'll get everybody on the team to introduce themselves. So if you can all unmute yourselves, we'll start with Kathy.
Hey there. Oh, sorry about that. You frog in my throat. I am Kathy Oberg. I am a partner at BNA, and we are the planning consultants for this project. I'll pass it to Chris.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Andrew. I'm a partner and planner at BNA. Project manager on this project, and we'll be running through everything tonight. I will pass it to Marisa.
Hi, everyone. Marisa Coop, also with BNA, and I work as an environmental planner on the project. I will pass it to Phil.
Hi, everyone. Phil Nodvate with Urban Systems. I'm working on the civil engineering aspects of the project, and I will pass it on to Councillor Spencer.
I think we have him muted. I think we have to unmute him, but we do have Councillor Spencer with us.
I am unmuted.
Okay,
just can't see my face. So local area councillor, feel free to follow up after this if you're a constituent of the ward and you have further questions.
Thank you for attending, Councillor Spencer.
Yes, and please bear with us with any online platform. There's always a few glitches here and there. Chris, when you have a second and not urgent, you can allow council to turn on his video, I believe, but we can deal with that when the time comes.
Yeah, just to make him a co-host, so he should be okay. There he is.
Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. Thank you. Okay, so Chris, please feel free to take it ahead.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for having us here tonight. We're going to run through the nostalgia plan, kind of where we're at. We'll go through some background context for the area, some site context, and then introduce you to the plan that we're very excited to share with you all. Oh, here's the agenda. So yeah, we went through the introductions. The purpose is to introduce the project, provide an update. You can respond, ask questions, and as Bridget mentioned, there's a survey available. I encourage you to get involved, and then we will be summarizing all of our engagement in a final report. So this is a little background context. This is South Calgary, which has been growing rapidly, especially after the construction of the South Health Campus. The area is rich in amenities, including the hospital, the regional commercial center, the YMCA, the public library, the high school, and fire station number 41, and eventually home to a Green Line station to really integrate it with the rest of Calgary from a transit perspective. On average, this area is responsible for approximately 25% of all growth in the city of Calgary. And the city has invested heavily in this area through the commitment to leading infrastructure back in 2018. In September 2022, the neighborhoods of Nostalgia, Seton Ridge, and Logan Landing, which you can see on the map. Nostalgia is the plan before you today. We're representing Jayman and Telsec, the owners and developers of that piece. And then the Seton Ridge and Logan Landing are two separate landowners and applications that are approved. Seton Ridge is Brookfield and Logan Landing is Genesis. And they all make up Ricardo Ranch. So these neighborhoods received growth management overlay approval in 2022. This means these lands did not require additional capital investment to proceed with development. And when assessed, the areas would contribute positively towards their operational expenses. So in other words, the property taxes would pay for the expenses of the communities. This approval was the first step, and additional development approvals are required before you will see development on these lands. So now we're just going to take a step back and have a look at the lands a little closer and the area structure plan before we introduce you to Nostalgia outline plan. So these are some site photos, and the thing we want to reiterate here is the Ricardo Ranch lands are very unique. Not only have they been farmed for decades within the upper and lower benches, but they contain terrace benches and form one of the last few opportunities along the Bow River to provide a publicly accessible access and enjoyment for Calgarians. In the top left photo, that's one example where you can see the historic homestead that has been there and farmed for, I don't know the exact number of years, but many, many years. With that in mind, these current landowners have diligently reviewed these lands for opportunities for new innovative communities that align with the city policies. So this is the Ricardo Ranch Area Structure Plan, which, if I abbreviate it going forward, that's an ASP. This began in 2017 and was approved by City Council in the fall of 2019. The general form of development in this plan is mainly residential, and it notes 4 school sites, 3 neighborhood activity centers, a community association, the historic homestead that I just showed you, and a boat launch that will provide future access to the Bow River. The ASP has thoughtfully considered pathways that run along the escarpment, as you can see on, can you see my pointer? Okay, that run along the escarpment ridge here, and then another pathway that runs along adjacent to the Bow River. For the Nostalgia site, there is a joint use site. So essentially that's 2 schools that share a play field. There's 2 neighborhood activity centers, which are the focal points of the neighborhoods, and they include medium to higher densities and a mix of uses. There's a community association identified just adjacent or along the ridge there, and the historic homestead that is in the valley. Within the ASP, it is common practice that there are areas that require more study and technical analysis that environment open space study areas are depicted. And these are the green hatch within the plan. The hatched area sits on top of the residential land use. In full terms, the EOS study area identifies lands that may be environmentally significant or may qualify as environmental reserve that require further study prior to outline plan approval. And for those of you not familiar with the city processes, an outline plan is the next level of planning after the ASP and then after the growth management application, where we start to look at the roads, the block layouts, school sites specifically, open spaces, parks, and storm ponds. And that's what we'll be presenting to you later in this presentation. And it's where we determine what qualifies as environmental reserve and that requires protection. Where the land is identified within the EOS study area, where land is identified within those EOS study areas is not protected or acquired by the city. It may be developable according to the policies of the ASP, as well as provincial regulations set out in the MGA or the Municipal Government Act. All development proposals within the City of Calgary have a host of policies and guidelines they need to follow for responsible and safe development. At this time, the Nostalgia Outline Plan has been submitted and is currently under review by the City of Calgary. The Seton Ridge and Logan Landing plans were recently approved with development commencing. So the contour map on the screen identifies the general form of the subject lands. These are areas where the slope, there are areas where the slope is flat, ranging between 15 to 20% grade. There's 20 to 33% grade, and then anything above 33%. One of the first studies that gets completed for the land is a geotechnical slope stability. The land is tested through on-site drilling to determine if the lands are stable or unstable, requiring protection. You will notice on the plan that there are only a few sections above the 33% slope, and through analysis, it was determined they'll remain as environmental reserve. It should be noted that only a small area was determined as unstable. As part of the ASP process, the lands were reviewed in a number of ways. Not only were the physical attributes examined and inventoried, but there also exist areas that the province has deemed as floodways, flood fringe, and the meander belt. It is part of the review that all these layers are contained within the mapping to help set the boundaries for future development. So as you can see on this map, floodway is identified in purple. That's the no development zone. It is protected as ER. In the blue kind of hatched area, that is the flood fringe. And that is, the development is permitted with additional regulations and restrictions. And then the 200-year meander belt, which indicates the potential movement pattern of the river over a 200-year period, and it is based on hydrogeological modeling. So I'm not going to get into the details of all of these studies. The one thing we just want to highlight here is that a lot of study does go into plans at varying levels. So there is pre-ASP reporting, there's ASP reporting, there is supplemental reporting that happens at the request of the city, and then there is the outline plan reports. For the outline plan reports, what was completed was a biophysical impact assessment, as I mentioned, the geotechnical report and slope stability assessment, a phase 1 environmental site assessment, a soil assessment, a stage master drainage plan, historical resources impact assessment, the historical mitigation that follows that, and then a transportation impact assessment. All of these studies are reviewed by the city and have to be approved by the city prior to the outline plan being approved. So now we'll get into the outline plan itself. Just on this slide, we wanted to highlight that Jayman and TELSEC put a lot of effort into the visioning for this plan. There was a development tour around North America that hit a number of sites. And really trying to base this plan in new urbanist precedents. And what that is basically moving back to the traditional neighborhood design. It's focused on people, pedestrian orientation, bringing back that classic Main Street, providing opportunities for social interaction amongst people. And we haven't really talked about the name, but this is kind of why the name Nostalgia kind of gets its cues from, is that focus on traditional neighborhood design. Some of the inspirations I can run through on here is the commercial Main Street that was inspired by Rosemary Beach, Florida. A lot of the architecture, the focus on brick townhouses, the residential scale from Sandy Springs, Georgia. The public open spaces and scale, the sizing, a lot of that was incorporated into our plan, and that was again from Rosemary Beach in Florida. There was inspiration to put a signature building, a landmark for nostalgia. And this is from Seaside, Florida. And then as we get into the plan, you'll notice that we also are proposing a signature chapel and landmark for the lands. There's a missing middle housing forms, and this was inspiration from Woodstock, Georgia. Key thing here is trying to bring the house a little bit closer to the street, have the front porches so you're interacting with your neighbors and pedestrians walking by. Clematis Street in West Palm Beach that is pedestrian oriented. This is an inspiration for the mixed-use town center. The fishing village, as we'll get into, is inspired by the watercolor boathouse in South Walton, Florida. This inspiration on the multi-residential scale, that one's a little bit local. That's Westman Village in Mahogany. It was also developed by Jayman and has been quite successful as a local main street. So that is the inspiration for some of the multi-residential housing that you'll see. And then another is canal-oriented townhomes. So this is from Alice Beach, Florida, and another like really unique feature of this plan. So taking the cues from the new urbanist principles, we decided to develop our own guiding principles for this plan early on in the process. So what we wanted to do is building sustainable and innovative infrastructure that mitigates the impacts of climate change and progresses society towards net zero. Designating a village center and a mixed-use main street that will be the heart and soul of the community, including active retail frontages, public spaces, and a variety of housing, including rental, seniors facilities, and condos. This plan celebrates the Bow River by providing public access and a potential for a future public boat launch that supports river-related activities and recreational opportunities. It offers a unique fishing village, and this was established by engaging the local fly fishing community. And right now it's proposed to include a lodge, a boutique hotel, pedestrian streets, some locally curated retail, and the retention of the original homestead. Related to that, its plan focuses on preserving historical and natural assets to build community character. It creates a unique sense of place and enhances the overall public realm or public spaces. The next focus was incorporating a cohesive architectural style. So as we saw in some of those inspiration images, it's focusing on creating a unique identifier for the community, and that's done through architectural style, unique contextual site design, the block patterns, the street network, and this all contributes to a comfortable and a safe community. Next is sensitively integrating, which you may have heard of, the missing middle. It provides low density forms of housing, not typical of just single detached. It includes townhouses, row homes, semi-detached and singles, all at a human scale to enhance the pedestrian environment and supports the primary transit network. And the aim is to design a more compact block network to slow cars, improve safety, and provide key active mode connections through the community. So I'm just going to run through a few of the concept plan highlights here so you can see them visually on the map. So A here is the village center, and it is the mixed-use main street that forms a network of walkable streets and public spaces. So that is this main street here with the plaza. Anything kind of highlighted in the darker brown is kind of that mix of housing and retail that supports the village center. Within the village center, there's proposed right now and contemplated for a village center school. It would be a private school, but it would complement the proposed public schools just northeast of the town center. There's a signature town center and town center health and wellness building. So that's in the early stages of being planned. But the intent here is to, really reinforce that guiding principle of health and wellness, have a center that complements the village center and creates a hub for basically the community. The interconnected canal system, so as you can see here, just by right around D, the canal system has an innovative form of housing that runs kind of east-west through the, I should back up here. This is the storm pond, and then this is the canal just north here. So another unique feature within the plan. It gives opportunity to incorporate water within the community and really enhance that public realm. F here is highlighted as a mixed-use neighborhood activity center. That's in alignment with the ASP. And it's just, again, to provide a diverse form of housing throughout the plan area. There is opportunity for retail in there, and then a public park. Down here, just adjacent to the river, is the mixed-use fishing village that I was previously talking about, with the proposal to have a hotel there, a network of riverfront pathways, and as I mentioned, the incorporation of the original homestead. I know it looks pretty small here, but this is it right here. Multiple opportunities for slope adaptive development within here, as you can see, with H on top of the escarpment and then H at the bottom of the escarpment. Pretty unique in that aspect is typically escarpments are reserved for kind of that large scale single family home. But this plan does bring a diverse set of housing to the escarpment, multi-residential and townhomes. The community association building identified by I, that is in alignment with the ASP, kind of bringing a community hub within close proximity to the escarpment, providing those excellent views of the river valley. And then in combination with that was that landmark building that I was speaking about earlier. This is proposed as a chapel. And it really, when you're driving from Deerfoot, you can see that up on the escarpment. It is just very much a unique identifier of knowing where nostalgia is within Southeast Calgary. Sorry, one sec. Sorry. Identified by K is the potential for a publicly accessible boat launch. What I should have mentioned earlier on one of the previous figures is this is all provincial crown land. So we're looking at opportunities to integrate and develop a boat launch that can be, that can basically complement the plan. And this, I mentioned earlier, is the storm pond. This is a Nautilus Pond and Stormwater Kidney. It is basically an innovative stormwater management program. I'm not the expert in this, so if you have questions in that, we do have people in the room that can provide you the answers. And then M is highlighting a pedestrian tunnel that connects to what the pedestrian tunnel does is provide seamless connection from the pathways that will run along the escarpment right into the town center. So another tunnel is proposed to connect basically C to the town center, and just providing, again, like I said, seamless pedestrian and cyclist connections into that town center. So we'll go over some of the plan stats here. So this is a very large development, 537 acres, approximately 217 hectares. Unique in a kind of suburban setting is this is a very, well, not very, it is a dense plan. It is 15 units per acre when the expectation from the city policy, the municipal development plan, is actually 8. So it is more than double that density. The plan area is targeting approximately 5,700 units, as I said, in multiple forms, with an estimated population of 18,000 people. So this really is a town and a village, and is proposed to have a lot of amenities to support that density. And vice versa, you don't get those type of amenities if you don't have the density to support it. Approximately 35% of the plan area is open space, and that is the form of municipal reserve, ER, and PUL. So this does exclude the village center open spaces, which would probably cause this to go above 40% in publicly accessible open spaces. As I mentioned earlier, this is a significant housing variety, including townhomes, semi-detached, single detached, I think there's some villas, and high and low, low, medium, and high density kind of multi-residential. So this is the village center. I know I've already kind of covered this, so it's just zoomed in. The mixed use Main Street, kind of that main entryway to the community. This is the Health and Wellness Center. The Village Center Plaza, which is basically a public plaza that brings people into the town center. The signature chapel down here on the escarpment. What I actually haven't mentioned is another kind of landmark feature of this village center is the clock tower. So that is identified by E. And that is, you know, as you're coming into the community, it is another unique identifier of helping you find a sense of place. You know exactly where you are at all times. And then identifying, this is a rendering of the gateway townhomes as you enter the community. Just articulating kind of that cohesive architecture that the development team discovered on their development tour. This is a rendering of the town center, just to give an indication of, you know, ground floor retail throughout that main street. You know, 4 to 6 story multi-residential is contemplated, and you know, a focus on architectural form. This is another view of the main street towards the clock tower. So again, supporting my point about always knowing where you are at this by having the clock tower to act as your compass. So moving down into the fishing village, and this is another exciting and very unique feature of this plan. Basically, this is contemplated, as I said before, to have a hotel, a pedestrian-oriented network of streets, and then multi-residential type housing to support this as basically a secondary village center. Sorry, one second. Excuse me. These initial concepts have contemplated a Nordic spa up against the escarpment, and then some, you know, slope adaptive townhomes as we move throughout the plan area. This is also has the Bow River Green Corridor, so this connects along the south boundary of the fishing village, providing good connection for pedestrians and cyclists. And as I said earlier at the ASP, this connects into Logan Landing and the Seton Ridge plan as well. These are some of the built form examples. I already kind of went through some of these with the precedents, but this is kind of the wide shallow Muse precedent, the gateway brick townhomes, as I have already showed you, multi-residential, which is the reference point of Westman Village. These are the canal-oriented townhomes. So yeah, getting some kind of gentle density along the canal. This is a laned home precedent. So again, looks like you can have a variety of frontages and lot widths. This is an example of slope adaptive multi-residential precedents. Some fishing village brick townhome precedents. The village center townhomes that have, you know, more of a unique feel when you're in that village center, and then some drive under, tuck under townhome use. We're not going to go through all the parks. I think what we're just highlight here is the aim of the parks plan has been to distribute parks throughout the plan area to basically provide park access to all of the plan area within a short walk. As I mentioned earlier, 35% of this open space is through these park spaces, the ER and the PUL. And we do have landscape designs for all of these park spaces. I don't have them on hand, but if you have any further questions, we can probably share those with you. Excuse me. Another thing to highlight here is the innovation within this plan. And I'm not sure if Cam or anyone from Jayman joined the call. So I won't get into the details on it, but some things that are contemplated within this plan is a very significant emphasis on net zero, solar, and geo-exchange. So net zero, the homes are available for offer within this community. The solar, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody from our team, but I think it's mandatory 6 solar panels on every residential home and the multi. And a geo exchange process is contemplated for all the multi-residential and commercial buildings. And again, not the expert in any of the technical aspects of those. So if you have any questions, potentially someone from my team, or we can get you in contact with Jayman to get more information about all of this as well. But this is just to reiterate the commitment to the first one of the guiding principles, that is to focus on mitigations to climate change, focusing on alternative forms of energy to basically run these communities. That takes us to questions. I don't know if anybody from our team wanted to jump in or add anything that you feel I maybe missed. Yeah, if not, we can open up to discussion.
I was just going to clarify, Chris, that it's 10 solar panels per home, which is maybe what Kathy was going to talk about as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. Thank you, Chris, for running us through that. As mentioned, if there is any questions or comments, feel free to add them through the Q&A tool in the program here, or just raise your hand and we can have a conversation live. I can appreciate there's a lot of information to ingest, so we're always welcoming commentary and questions in the coming weeks too, and you can reach out at any point. It looks like we've got one question come through. So what kind of price point are we looking at for single family front drive? So Kathy or Chris, maybe?
Yeah, I think I'll just add, we unfortunately don't have Cam from Jayman here with us tonight, and I think they're still working on some of those product designs. That's something we can follow up with after the fact of just what kind of price point, because it's a different type of product. It's something that is not typical in some of the communities that you'll see within Calgary. They're still in that, the production stage. So I'm sure they'll be closer to have price points as we get closer to approvals. But we can get a generalized idea and certainly follow up, Bridget, on what kind of price points in each. We'll try and get an understanding of what the spectrum is with each of the types, and then be able to share that with the public.
Great, thank you, Kathy. And to that point, as we mentioned in the introduction, after we've had the survey open and we've received commentary, we'll provide a summary report that addresses some of the questions that we can't answer conclusively today. So thank you for that. Another question is, when is the first phase planned to be completed?
Yeah, and I can start with this, and then I might ask Phil to chime in because he has a better understanding of some of the other subsequent approvals. But we are looking to get approval, a land use approval in the next couple of months. It has to go through, the city will finish their review and they will hopefully recommend it for approval. It then has to go through Calgary Planning Commission. It has 2 steps. That are part of the process, Calgary Planning Commission, and then it'll go to the public hearing of council. And so that might not happen till we'll see if it happens during the summer or if it lands in September. And then once that approval is in place, then we pass it over to Phil's team to start the engineering. So Phil, when do you think you might project? You'll have some initial stuff you've got to do, build roads, put in services. When do you anticipate that housing might actually be available within the first phase?
Yeah, we're targeting for later this year to actually start some of the foundations, and the goal is to start grading immediately upon land use approval. So early this summer, and then move into underground utilities. Unlikely we'll get any of the roads paved out, but we do hope to start on just with some interim road access in there to get some of the buildings started, and then come back in the spring and complete the road works and have full production on the housing.
Great, thank you. Is there anything else from our participants here? Any more questions or comments? All right, so someone has mentioned if they are interested, and I assume interested in purchasing a home, what would their next steps be in the process?
That would be, we can connect, we can provide contact information for Jayman. Certainly they've got a team of folks. They likely aren't at a point where they'll start to, secure lots because we have a few more approvals to get done, but I'm presuming they will be starting a wait list, to be able to have conversations when they are appropriate, but we can certainly provide contact information. Bridget, what we'll do is we'll find out from Cam who the best person is at Jayman to make that connection and follow up.
That sounds great. And for this person in particular, if you'd like to send me an email and I can pass on your contact information, that would be great. Okay, another question. Is there more information on what the phases are and the timelines for them?
Sure, the phasing for this is quite exciting, and maybe it's probably better to put the plan up instead of the question screen. The Jayman wants to commit to activating that town center within their first phase, not the entire town center, but certainly make the commitment. Sometimes you'll find that within new communities, you'll have commercial areas or higher density areas will come later in the plan. And so it'll be a combination of lower density residential, as well as some multifamily and commercial committed right up front. I think there's also that wellness, health and wellness building is in one of the earlier phases as well. And so if you can imagine, would probably start at the core of the community, and I'll probably look to Phil to confirm, but then we'll expand outwards. Phil, do you anticipate that we'll go out in a radial form as we start to develop? I know this is probably going to take a number of years, but what is the phasing expectation?
Yeah, you're right. We're starting at the center core there with some of the single family product up along 212th. We'll probably go more in the western direction to connect in with the Logan Landing before we start going further to the east. And then at some point we'll start to go down the hill as well and get into the fishing village area. But we haven't firmed up the timelines for that yet.
Great. Thank you for that. We don't have any other questions submitted at the moment. I'll give it another second here if anything else comes up.
And certainly with our survey and the ability to reach out, we can answer questions at any point in time. We know you're getting a lot of information all at once, which we can understand. It's sometimes takes a bit to digest. I think with having this presentation available to the public to review after as well, means that it's, we don't stop after we have this event. We keep it open. We're also very cognizant that it is the first week of spring break for some people. And certainly we want to make sure that we do hear from you if you do have, or your neighbors or friends do have additional questions. So please don't hesitate. We're going to leave it open for, I think it's a couple weeks, Bridget, to receive feedback and questions, and we can get back to you as well. Or tell your neighbors and friends about us, and they can watch the presentation.
I'm just providing the survey link into the chat right now, so just bear with me for a moment. And I also believe there are people on the line from the Seaton HOA, so we can work with them to circulate information as well to make sure it gets out there. So there's lots of ways, as Kathy mentioned, for us to continue the conversation. Okay, well, maybe with that, it doesn't look like there's any more questions coming through. We'll close it off. And yeah, as mentioned, please get in touch at any point if you'd like to have any further conversation, and we'll follow up with those questions that we owe responses to. And you'll also hear from me in the coming days with a link to the recording of this event and a link to the survey as well. So. All right, any closing comments from the team, or are we all set?
No, I just say thank you for coming and joining us at supper hour. And we appreciate that. We try to make it at a time that people can get home from work and certainly know that it's supper time. But thanks for attending. And we look forward to hearing more from you, and we'll get you in touch with Jayman for those that are very interested.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you. Take care.